Hi there, it's Sarah from Inspire Tarot. Welcome to the channel. Let's see what message Spirit has for us today. Death and the Empress. Always straight. Yeah, right. So the Death card is all about rebirth. About dying to our old self and coming out of the chrysalis, as we can see from the two ladies who are kind of look like they're struggling out of themselves, and that's very much what it feels like as we go through the undoing of the belief that we're a separate self in a body. And this process can feel very uncomfortable because essentially we're letting go of our false self, which is our human character, bit by bit, in a way that's kind of vaguely tolerable to us, and becoming more and more anchored in the mind and in the knowing that we are love, we are one, we are essentially just the mind. The mind is the part that God created, the right mind, that just kind of extends and revels in joy and bliss of the knowing that this world is not real, and that our eternal home is the mind. Heaven is the right mind, the unified mind. So we have to do work in every lifetime that we come into to purify the mind. And any changes that we do for the mind, they do affect our external life as well. So that's beautiful. And I think one of the things about the Empress is we do become more and more like the Empress. It's kind of like we govern over our own life when we allow the Spirit to guide us. So we need to make the decision to let our higher self guide us. So it's not like we're really thinking for ourselves, it's just that we've decided to align with God. And then we embody this higher self more and more and become like the Empress. So the Empress is very nurturing, she's very loving, she's very creative. She's kind of the epitome of the feminine that's very powerful and strong, and also doesn't take any nonsense, kind of understands the path of growth and that it's painful and difficult and just embraces it, really stands in her power and goes through the various stages of healing, which can look very different, but also the same for all of us. We all kind of go through the undoing process, and it's challenging, but it's also exciting because we do reap the rewards of what we put into it. So whenever we work on changing our mind or realigning with the right mind, we get to feel good. And God is always flowing love and opportunities and abundance to us at all time. And when we're fearful and guilty, it's like we have up a shield, which is our thinking patterns, and it blocks everything from us. So we have, because the mind is so powerful, we have the power to block God's love and things coming to us and the abundance. But we also have the power to reverse that because the mind is power. And God allows us to choose. If we want to believe in a kind of evil dualistic thought system, then we can do. But if we want to return back to oneness, then we can also do that. And God has created it, so that's the only thing that feels good. So essentially we don't have free will. We have free will to choose to align with God or not to align with God. Those are the two choices, but we don't have free will to make not aligning with God feel good. That choice is taken from us, and we can be happy for that, because what God has for us is much better than what we think we could have for ourselves. Clearly, if we believe we're in a body. The Knight of Emotions. So the Knight of Emotions is typically the Knight in Shining Armor card. It's somebody who's very dedicated to love, or it can just be a state of mind. And when we're dedicated to love, we go through many different ways of perceiving love. So we go from a very conditional love to a very unconditional love. Yeah, and it's just a process of understanding what works, what doesn't work, what feels loving, what doesn't feel loving. And we know that what is loving is unconditional love, which is to love everybody the best we can, to accept that we're all one, to not judge, to forgive, to treat people with compassion, including ourselves, and just to be open-minded about things that we do and things other people do, because everybody does things from their level of consciousness for what they believe is the best. And sometimes preserving the self is what they believe is best. So the Night of Emotions is very much on a quest for love. And what we think love is just evolves over time. It becomes more purified. And the more we can love everything and everyone and the whole process of awakening and the world and all the seemingly darker things in the world, then the more we're on track. And we require the Holy Spirit in the mind and various spiritual teachings to show us what love is. And it's so confusing because we have so many expectations that we think are loving in all the different roles that we play. But the different roles, in order to be like a good mother and a good partner and a good employee, we get pulled in different directions, and it's very difficult to find balance. And that's because we're not supposed to be in these human roles. The human role is created by a departure from the light, aka like the devil or doubt or fear or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we need to let go of the roles and just focus on our divine purpose. That's the only role that we kind of really should be in if we want to heal and we want to feel sane. So we're choosing to follow the Spirit. That's our goal. So the 10 of Materials is the 10 of Pentacles, and the Page of Materials has come out as well. Right, how are we going to fit all of these on? Let's go for one more. Eight of Inspiration, Knight of Materials. Okay, so yeah, the 10 of Materials is the 10 of Pentacles, which is all about, normally about material wealth. It's about our divine inheritance. Yeah, so from our human perspective, the materials cards talk about the physical, the material, our physical resources, which the Spirit will use to help us get back to the right mind all the time. So we, as humans, believe that the physical form is like the be-all and end-all, that's the real part that we have to get right. Whereas the Spirit doesn't see it that way. The Spirit sees the thinking in the mind as the real part that we have to get right. And the physical world is just the outpicturing or the seeming creation of thought, of miscreated thought. So essentially it's just an illusion and a dream. So the Spirit uses the material world to flush up our beliefs in lack or abundance, or opposition, competition, all of these things the Spirit uses to help us. So we're kind of flipping the script from believing that the physical form is what matters to remembering that we kind of want to accept the changes in the physical world, that physical things come in and out, and that we just trust that they will always come in and out as we need them, but not be attached to external physical things, because when we attach to things, whenever we lose them, we can feel quite distressed. So there's a lot of cards. So there's the 10 of Materials, the Page of Materials, and the Knight of Materials. The Page of Materials is all about being very kind of focused and being almost a student of mastering the physical. And the way the ego mind wants to master the physical is it just wants to it wants to accumulate more and more of everything, but it gets more and more of everything, and then it realizes, oh, you know, I've got this big house, I've got this nice partner, I've got these fancy holidays, I've got my dream job, but I still, you know, I still get sick, I still get upset, the news still bothers me, and there's all these things. It's like we cannot find the perfect configuration of anything in the physical form. So we want to be using the physical form. The spirit wants to use the form to help us and love us and just make our life comfortable, but not too comfortable, because the spirit is always wanting us to grow and flip the script on the ego. The Knight of Materials is very steady, usually very diligent. Yeah, and this is a skill that we need. So we need to apply this to physical things as well as the mind training, because if we're birthing something new in the mind, then it takes time to change the patterns. And if we're birthing something new or creating something new in physical form, then again, it takes work to establish something, to get the message out, to do all the things that come with creation or creating things. So yeah, and the Eight of Inspiration card is, I believe, the Eight of Wands, which shows that we're making rapid progress. We can see from the card that this woman is very much no nonsense. She's very focused on what she's doing. She's kind of all dressed up, and nothing's going to hold her back. So yeah, that's a beautiful card, just to show that the body goes wherever the mind goes. So if we're very determined, then the body will follow. And we know from A Course in Miracles that the body is to be used as a communication device, to bring love to the planet, to other people, and to everything that we do. So yeah, beautiful. Sweet reading so far. See what else comes out. Seven of Emotions and Three of Materials. So the Seven of Emotions is the Seven of Cups, which is all about false idols and distractions, all about the illusions and things that come up in the mind. And our navigation through the physical realm will do this to us all the time. So this woman is kind of distracted by all of these fish, which is a sign that we're always distracted by things in the physical world that we think we want, or distracted by thought patterns and things in the mind that are, again, just ego distractions. And it's just relentless as we go through life, as we go through the journey. We can go through it with the ego, where the ego is constantly trying to fragment everything, make everything seem more complicated, and make it seem as though the causation is in the form. That's the sneakiest thing, I think, to master on this journey, is to see that the causation is in the mind, it's not in the form. You know, I've heard people talking about tarot and saying, oh, tarot is evil and tarot is creepy because it seems to predict the future. But we have to remember that the script is written, means that everything happened at the Big Bang, and everything is already created. Everything that's going to happen, anything that ever will happen, is already created in the script. So yeah, we really do have to be guided by the spirit to navigate through this realm in a way that's helpful, because the ego just wants to trap us, it wants to confuse us, it wants to distract us, it just wants to drive us crazy, constantly on a wheel chasing fool's gold in the external world. Whereas the spirit wants to use the physical world to flush up our feelings of discomfort, so that we can look at the concepts that we believe in, our lack, our fear, our shame, our guilt, our anger, etc. So yeah, essentially using the physical world in a completely different way. And because God didn't create the physical world, it has to be neutral, because it kind of goes against God's wishes. It's fragmented, it's dualistic, it's not oneness. And because God didn't want or create a physical dualistic world, the easiest way kind of explain it is to see it as neutral and meaningless, because people have different meaning for different things. So there's no one fixed meaning on anything at all. So everything is always open to interpretation. And because we believe that we're this kind of guilty, limited fragment, we see everything from a very distorted perspective. We don't see everything as if we're whole. So the Three of Materials is a card about teamwork and synergy. This is one of my favourite cards, or one of my favourite meanings in tarot, in that the Spirit uses collaboration, uses us working together on different projects and things. So we get to see our distorted beliefs. We get to work on a kind of a shared purpose, which is always good. It could be in a job or a hobby or in a family, anything is going to get flushed up. Any irritation that we have with another, any imbalance of power is going to come up. And the Spirit always wants us to talk through everything. So we find this equality. And whenever one party in the mix kind of goes away from that plan or that ideal, then things start to become wonky. And then the other team members will pull that person back in as they discuss things. So yeah, the world has a way of kind of balancing itself again. But if we have fear of an external power, then we give our power away, and it can make the external world seem bigger and scarier than it is. But really the power is in the mind, and we all have equal power. Even though we don't feel as if we do, we do. We all have equal power at the mind level. The Fool and the Hierophant. And the Six of Inspiration. So yeah, the Fool is the character, as we know, that goes through the world, learning as he goes, or she goes. So the Fool, yeah, kind of goes through all the major arcana cards and all the different suits and has to learn, and we cycle through them, learning as we go. We have to master the mind, we have to master the heart, we have to master our drives and passions, and we also have to master our purpose, and master the physical realm as well. So yeah, and the more we heal, the more abundance we can kind of draw to ourselves. But then at the same time, we remember that abundance is just in the mindset, that it doesn't really matter whether we have lots of things materially, as long as we have lots of things, as long as we're aligned with the right mind, and that sort of state of gratitude, of feeling very full and very happy. So yeah, it's nice to go through life as the Fool, just kind of never really knowing what comes next and being very open. And also, I think the Fool is very humble in that he's not afraid to make mistakes. He or she is not afraid to make mistakes, not afraid to look daft. Someone who just kind of steps out and goes for it and trusts that they're supported by life, and whatever comes up, they'll learn to handle. And if everything in life is neutral, then the Spirit can use everything for healing. So really, we're going through life just trusting that every opportunity, everything that happens to us is for healing. And then it kind of makes the world seem exciting in that way. It's very sweet. And the Six of Inspiration card, again, is another one of my favourite cards. It's the Six of Wands. So this is when we kind of have success after often going through a lot of difficulties. I know people who are in the public eye, they do have to face a lot of seemingly external feedback, good or bad. I was watching Meghan Markle's new show on Netflix last night, and it's very sweet and idealistic. It's very light. But I kind of liked the way that she was weaving into it, that it's all about love and not being perfect. And even though there was kind of visually, it was very perfect, it was just gentle. But she gets so much hatred projected at her, and I think it's because she's kind of probably like the Queen of Wands, in that she's very, how would you explain it? To the ego, she's got the ideal life, yet she still, you know, gets so much darkness thrown at her. And I do think that, yeah, with this awakening journey, we do have to face our shadows outside of ourselves. And the Six of Inspiration is very much a card of being able to feel comfortable to be who we are, to express ourselves, potentially in a public, you know, in a very public way. And she's got this sort of star on her head and all these lights around her, and she's just being celebrated. So this is just like a symbol of the hero's journey, that we can become ourselves more and more. And when I say become ourselves, I mean become our right-minded self, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think this was a really beautiful reading. I love these cards. They're very colourful and inspiring. So yeah, you're all awesome and you're doing great. And I very much enjoy reading these cards because they help me stay right-minded, and they help me with my intuition and thinking on the spot, staying aligned with the spirit, and just reminding myself over and over that the form is not important. That's the backdrop, that's the vehicle that the spirit uses. But we need constant reminders that it's not about the form, it's not about the form, it's about the mind. And the more we heal, the more we detach from externals, the more we detach from the need for external validation and external things. And we just become more anchored in the truth, more anchored in our worth, in our light, in our love, in our knowing that our only role on earth really is to heal and to love and be kind to others. And also there's a line in the Course where it says it's the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. And I do think, yeah, that's a beautiful thing, especially if we are out in the public domain, to share this amazing news with everybody. And forgive anything that comes back at us. We may get negative comments, we may get all sorts of things, but we always need to see it as a call for love and an opportunity to extend love to others and give as God gives. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this reading. I love you all. Bye.